If you're diving with a pony, do you need an extra second stage to act as your octo, or can you use the existing one that's already on your regulator? Hi all of you awesome scuba divers out there, welcome to the Scuba Diver Magazine channel, your favourite place for the latest scuba diving news and gear reviews, and welcome to 𝐼𝐸𝐫𝐸, our scuba diving Q&A, where I, Mark, a former dive instructor, do my best to answer your scuba diving questions. So if you do have any scuba diving questions, pop them down in the comment section underneath this video. Use this 𝐼𝐸𝐸 hashtag that's just popped up on the screen in your comment, and that way it just highlights it behind the scenes for me, and in the meantime I try to type out an answer for you. But yeah, today I'm answering a question from Chris all about ponies and how to set up your regulators. So Chris Daly says, I'd appreciate your perspective on this. When carrying a pony bottle, do you still recommend using an octopus on the primary system? My typical dive is wreck dives around 100 to 130 feet with limited penetration. I understand the common guidance is that an octo is primarily for a buddy, while the pony is for self-rescue. That said, I'm weighing that against the added complexity of another hose that could snag and an additional regulator to maintain. I'm curious how you think about this trade-off in this type of dive profile. So for the uninitiated, this is what we call a pony. I'm still not 100% sure why we call a small cylinder a pony. I think a few people have said over the years, oh, it's because of this or such and such. I've never found like a 100%, yeah, this is definitely why we call a small cylinder, like attached to our main, a pony. That's kind of sat well with me, but hey, we call it a pony. And yes, now you have two outlets, you have two completely independent air sources. The big cylinder is your main cylinder, that's what you dive from. That you have your regulator, your primary second stage, the one that you're breathing from. And then on your pony, you have a second first stage. And from that, you have another second stage. So that should something awful happen to this cylinder, your regulator, whatever it is, even if it's completely disappeared, you have a complete separate cylinder of gas to get you back to the surface. That's why it's typically much smaller. You're not going to complete the same dive. As soon as you have to switch to your pony, that's it, you're going back to the surface. So your pony cylinder is typically as big as it needs to be at the worst possible point for you to get back up to the surface. It's something that you like calculate based on your breathing rate and your dive depth and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, typically, we tend to use a lot of 3 liters for most recreational diving. If it's anything bigger, then it tends to be like side mounted, just because it's easier to transport. But when it comes to regulators, I treat them, other divers might do it differently. And yeah, there is an argument for an extra second stage, but then you're carrying 3 second stages. If you ever have to use your pony in an out of air situation, whether that's yourself or another diver, that's already mean to end the dive, get out of the water. So if then a second person becomes out of gas, chances are very slim. However, if you have 2 second stages running off your primary cylinder, then both of those second stages are likely to be written off should something happen to that first stage. So I treat them like twin sets. And on my twin set, I have one first stage that has one second stage that I can breathe from, one way to adjust my buoyancy. So on one cylinder, you'll have one first stage that has a second stage on it and a low pressure inflator hose that leads to your BCD, and the other one will have your alternate, which will then connect to your dry suit, or vice versa, whatever works for you. In this situation, with a pony, I would have my primary second stage running off of the big cylinder, and connect that to my BCD. And then for the pony, I would have an alternate that would just sit in a necklace underneath my my chin, and a hose that leads to my dry suit. That way, if you need to, then you can control your buoyancy using either or cylinders. You can breathe from either or cylinders, even if the valve is completely shut off. If another diver comes to me with an issue, they're in an out of air situation, I can pass them my primary, because I dive a long hose primary donate. So they're breathing from the big cylinder, I can then breathe from the little cylinder. They get plenty of space. I have enough space just to get the second stage from my chin, and yeah, it's quite seamless. Should something happen to my primary first stage or second stage and I can't breathe from my big cylinder anymore, then I just switch to my alternate that's just around my chin, and then I'm breathing from the pony. It's if you had 2 second stages coming off of your primary, there's arguments for it would be easier when you're not diving with a pony, because you wouldn't have to amend your second stage. The extra redundancy, you've got an extra second stage. It's unusual for 2 catastrophic failures to happen on the same dive at the same time, but hey, there's an argument for it. But we always have buddy breathing in the absolute worst case scenario. The downsides to having an extra second stage is, yeah, I think you mentioned the like added service costs and like hose routing. You got an extra hose that's probably going to be on your left hand side. Just trying to get them all together and trying to figure out which is which, and in like an emergency can be stressful. Ultimately, it comes down to what works for you, so give it a try. If it does feel like a lot, then yeah, just disassemble, adjust your setup, and then try it again. Scuba diving, especially the like, let me put these down for a second, because I don't like cylinders standing upright. Yeah, scuba diving is a lot of, not trial and error, but kind of working out what works for you and your dive group as well. Because it's not just about how it works for you, because other divers are reliant on you. And it is quite nice to have a fairly, not uniform setup, but a uniform setup, so they know how it's, if just any other diver just is like, oh, I don't know where my buddy is for whatever reason, and suddenly, oh, I'm out of gas. They can come up to you and immediately go, I'm going to breathe from that. With a pony setup, it's nice because you have that complete independent air source. It was a requirement, as far as I understood, as an instructor when I was teaching. You had to have a completely separate cylinder. That's why I started diving on twin sets, because you can isolate them. And yeah, you basically have almost a mirror image when it comes to the first stages. As far as orientation, because I'm sure I'm going to get comments on like inverted ponies and whatnot. Again, that's up to you. I quite like being able to reach the valve, just in case it starts free flowing. My shoulder rotation isn't as good as it used to be. I did something terrible to my my left shoulder years and years ago, so trying to reach is quite tricky. In the HSE course, we had the ponies on the right hand side, but that just feeds into the band mask, so it is not a separate second stage or anything. Position wasn't that much of an issue. But I like them inverted. You just have to make sure that you don't bang that on anything when you're putting things down, obviously. And yeah, whether the valve outwards or wherever it is, as long as you can find it easily, then that works for you. So when it comes to like regulator configurations for the pony, from this one, I would have my alternate on a relatively short hose, something long enough to get it up and over my shoulder to my chin and in my mouth without any kind of tug, because you don't want to be fighting it during the dive. A long enough hose to get to my dry suit, or over my left shoulder to my BCD, depending on which way I fancy, and some kind of pressure gauge. Either like a button gauge, something really nice and small that you just check at the beginning of the dive, or almost like a side mount, a short 6-inch hose with a brass and glass SPG on the end of it, so you can check how much gas you have. And if you're flexible enough, you might be able to read it, depending on how it's configured. On the primary, I would have my long hose primary donate, with the second stage that I breathe from during the dive and then donate in and out of air situation, and another low low pressure inflator hose that goes to, again, either my dry suit or my BCD, and a long submersible pressure gauge that I can check during the dive. Yeah, diving with ponies isn't that common, depending on the circles, obviously. And yeah, if your instructor dives with a pony, then chances are that you're a bit more attuned to it. But after you like pass your open water or whatever your foundational course is, they just kind of kick you into the real world and it's just like, figure it out, kid. But yeah, as far as like standardized configuration, I don't know who would even create that. But yeah, I wouldn't want too many is kind of failure points as soon as you're adding extra demand valves on the end of the first stage. And for like cold water diving, you wouldn't really want 2 people breathing off a single first stage anyway, because it increases the chances of it freezing up. Another reason why pony cylinders are quite popular in British waters, because of the colder waters. But yeah, I personally, in my mindset, I just kind of treat it as a twin set. It's just the valve is somewhere else, and the cylinder isn't always like physically attached with cam bands. But it's an interesting question, and we're worth just trying it out, seeing how it works, seeing how other like pony divers do it. Have a look at pictures of, I imagine there'll be some on like 𝐵ZAC websites and whatnot, where you can see what they're doing and go, oh, okay, they fit it like that. That's quite interesting. Yeah, whether you invert it or not, that's completely up to you. Any other questions, by all means, pop them down in the comment section underneath this video. Remember to use this @smart hashtag to get featured in an up and coming video. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we're almost at the Go Diving show. I'll pop a link up in the corner of the screen so you can check it out and buy your tickets. Thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.